Did Vance say that made European leaders furious? Why did German's defense minister scrapped his entire speech on the spot? And lastly, can one speech restore your faith in politics? Hi, this is Josephine, and welcome to the People's Perspective, where we dive into the complex world of social and political issues. If you believe change is needed and want to understand the forces shaping our world, you are in the right place. Thank you for tuning in, and it's my pleasure to guest you here. As you may have noticed by now, I generally do not trust politicians. However, something happened last week that makes me wonder if I might be wrong, or perhaps it has given me a glimmer of hope that I might once again trust politicians. I am truly confused. Please bear with me. I would like to take this opportunity today to talk about an important event that occurred last week. So significant that I decided to skip video about Trump's first 30 days of presidency to instead discuss High Right-Hand Man J.D. Vance. He visited Europe last week, stirring up quite a bit of controversy. He represented the United States during the Munich Security Conference, MSC. An event you may not have heard about, or perhaps you did but you didn't pay much attention to. So let's start with some background. The Munich Security Conference began in the fall of 1963. In its early years, the MSC was a small transatlantic gathering focused on Cold War issues. It primarily brought together German and American participants, alongside other NATO allies, earning it the nickname the Transatlantic Family Meeting. Debates were often intense, but centered on Western policy. With the Cold War's end, conference leaders of MSCT expanded participation to include Central and Eastern European countries, as well as Russia. This shift ensured the conference remained relevant in a changing global landscape. Today, MSC has grown into a diverse global platform while maintaining its transatlantic core. Participants now include leaders from rising powers like China, Brazil, and India, as well as representatives from the Middle East, civil society, and private sector. Conference continues to play a crucial role in navigating complex international security challenges. Since 2022, Russia, for obvious reasons, is no longer invited to the meetings. J.D. Vance was scheduled to give a statement on the US in the world, immediately following Ursula von der Leyen's statement on the EU in the world. Unlike von der Leyen, who was also granted a discussion panel, J.D. Vance was only scheduled to give a speech. And oh boy, he delivered. Vance received a warm welcome from MSC Chairman Christoph Heusgen, former chief advisor of foreign policy to Angela Merkel, and German's ambassador to UN in New York. J.D. Vance began his speech by addressing a tragic incident involving a self-driving vehicle that for unknown reason collided with the group of people earlier that day. The audience applauded to it loudly, prompting Vance to joke.
I hope that's not the last bit of applause that I get, but...
He seemed aware of what was coming. As he spoke further, the applause declined, and the atmosphere became increasingly tense. The current Vice President of the United States began lecturing the European audience about the true meaning of democracy and free speech. So, let's take a closer look at what Vance actually said.
The threat that I worry the most about vis-a-vis Europe is not Russia, it's not China, it's not any other external actor. And what I worry about is the threat from within. And unfortunately, when I look at Europe today, it's sometimes not so clear what happened to some of the Cold War's winners. I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs to the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat. So I come here today not just with an observation, but with an offer. And just as the Biden administration seemed desperate to silence people for speaking their minds, so the Trump administration will do precisely the opposite, and I hope that we can work together on that. In Washington, there is a new sheriff in town, and under Donald Trump's leadership, we may disagree with your views, but we will fight to defend your right to offer it in the public square, agree or disagree.
After the meeting, a political firestorm erupted. As always, one side cheered his words while the other was outraged. The controversy was further fueled by the fact that US and Russian diplomats were heading to Saudi Arabia to start the peace talks. German's ministers of defense scrapped his prepared speech and on the spot crafted a direct response to DJ Vance. As the saying goes, the hit dog will holler. Anyway, he left no room for ambiguity, stating that the US vice president was effectively comparing the current state of Europe to a totalitarian regime, a comparison the German politician deemed unacceptable. He was quick to highlight the presence of the right-wing AfD in the German parliament and on prime TV time, conveniently ignoring the existence of other extremistic parties. Unsubstantially, media outlets overlooked the fact that he was engaging with Vance's critique of European democracy instead of us planned, setting a stage for a panel discussion on seismic shifts, more European responsibility for defense. Or did he? Regrettably, one conclusion from the conference stood out: a strong and increasingly vocal call for the creation of a European army. The speech even caused ripples here in Switzerland. Current Swiss President Karin Keller-Sutter described Vance's speech as liberal, in a certain sense, very Swiss. Further stating that the Vance spoke about values that need to be defended and that we share, such as freedom and ability to express oneself. It was a plea for direct democracy, she said. Interestingly, her remarks did not sit well with the Swiss public. A few days later, she backpedaled, clarifying that she didn't comment on the rest of his speech, as it's not up to her to evaluate Vance's statements about the US or Europe. Predictably, mainstream media and influencers rushed to debunk Vance's claims. Yet, a brief Google search and some fact checking revealed that many of these so called debunkers fell short. So, what do you think? Was it an honest message from the new US administration or just another move in a long and complex geopolitical game to divide us? Is this another distraction to divert our attention from the main events? What do you think about his speech? And more importantly, do you believe J.D. Vance and the current US cabinet will stand by these values? If you find value in this video, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Please like if you like it or unlike if you don't. And if you have thoughts to share or other things you would like me to cover, please drop a comment below. I am uploading stories like that on Sunday evenings, Swiss time. So I hope we meet again. But for now, thank you for watching till the end. And as always, stay informed, stay engaged,